Hey guys, how's it going? Stephen here from Heresy Academy. So in this video, as you see by the title underneath the video, it's going to be part 3 and it's going to be about jumping. So I just want to quickly talk about a few things, well not a few things but a couple of things before we get started. Basically, we're going to work back in our player script and this is where we're going to do our jump, same as our left and right movement. We're going to basically kind of do 3 things. First of all, we're going to make it jump. That was quite obvious really actually, sorry about that, was really obvious. The second thing is we're going to do something called, can be referred to as a ground check or a floor check, or is it on the floor basically. The reason we're going to do that is because when we set it up to jump, we're going to do it quite a basic way. There are other ways of doing it, and it's going to move. It'll move up. It won't actually give it. Unity won't know it's jumping, so it will fall again. So if you keep pressing the button, it will just jump, 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 and just go up to space. So what we'll do is we'll set something up called a floor checker, and this, like I said, basically as it's called, it will check if you're on the floor. And then what we'll do is we'll set up a double jump. So if you're on the floor, you haven't jumped yet, then you can jump, but then you can't jump again because you're going in space. But then we'll set it up so if you have not double jumped, or if you've not already jumped, then you can jump and jump once more, and then you can't jump so you fall back down, sort of thing. So I hope that makes sense. Let's begin. So like I said, we're going to work in our player script, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to make another public float under this one, and this could be jump power, call it jump power. And we've got our rigid body there, that's absolutely fine. So we can drop down to the update here and put in the jump code. But what I'm going to do, because we're going to reference it a couple of times, I'm going to go down here. Oh no, I'm not. I'm going to go underneath this curly bracket. So as you're coding, this is a good point to mention. As you're coding, if you're not sure where you can write your next bit of code, we don't want to go inside the void update. So click on this first curly bracket here. This is where it begins. It'll highlight where it ends. So you just go underneath that. And there we go. So I'm going to make a public void. Probably doesn't really need to be public, but because we're going to call the jump a few times, we could possibly, yeah, we'll keep it public, and we'll call it jump. And then, like I said about as you can see, the start and the update, they've both got parentheses here, brackets. So we're going to open and close pair of brackets, open and close pair of curly brackets. So inside here, very much like our left and right movement, we're going to do if input, not import, input.getKey, but this time we're going to do get key down because we want to test if it's pressed. We don't want to see if it's held down, but you could do if you want, and you held down, it'll just keep like constantly jumping if that's what you want to do. But that's what we're going to do. We're going to get key down, and our key code will be our up arrow. So we'll type in here key code dot and up arrow. Then make sure to close off the other brackets. This is good as well. Whenever you open a pair of brackets, the same as these curly ones, it'll highlight the next one. So if you're not sure if you closed it or not, just double check. Yeah, that's right. So what you want to do then is you want to open and close a pair of curly brackets, and inside here we're going to do very much the exact same thing as left and right. So player dot velocity equals a new vector 2. That's the still x and y, but this time we're going to do player dot velocity dot x, and we're going to jump on the y by our jump power. So I'm going to try and scroll down there. So as you can see, it's very similar. Instead of using our move speed on the x, we're using our jump power on the y, and we're still going to get the player dot velocity dot x for our x position because you could write 0, but we don't really want to. So now, okay, I kind of realised that I've just sort of done something a bit silly there. Okay, this whole if import dot get key down, I didn't really want to write this here. I just wanted to write my the actual what's happening. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do Control and X to cut that, and underneath this I'm going to do Control and V to paste it. Now you'll see I've got 3 of these, so I want to get rid of one, should be that one. About there. And then underneath this one, I'm going to open up the next one. The reason I just realised I did that was because you want to do if input.get key down, and the key code is the up arrow. Then for that, you want to write jump. Okay? So you're calling your jump function, which is player.velocity equals new vector 2. Just going to move this up a little bit there. So this now will jump. So I can actually demonstrate this. I'll just save this and jump back to Unity. It will jump, assuming there's no errors. Today would be relatively nice. There we go. So if I click on play, don't forget I'm using my arrows, so there's no spacebar, no mouse key or anything like that. It's just left and right. And actually it's not jumping. Well, this is, oh haha, this is a fail. Okay, so don't click play yet because well, it is jumping. It's just jumping by 0. So let's say you just put this a jump power of 1 for now. We'll change this around based off our rigid body gravity here. So now we'll click on play. And we'll change the values twice. We'll change the values in play mode. So you click on there. So you can see that's what it's doing. And I'll keep pressing it. I'm going up by 1. Not very well though. So let's say I change the jump power to be 5. A bit better. But let's say we change the gravity scale to be 3. So we're not liking that. We can still, like I said, we can still jump up a million times. So let's try this now. So now I've increased the gravity, so that pulls it down quicker. So maybe you want the gravity to be at 3, and the jump speed could be 10, could be 8, could be 9, absolutely whatever you want it to be. Okay, so I found working with the gravity, for me, working at values of 3. So if I was to put this at 3 here, I'd put the jump power to be 9. See, very similar result. So working in powers of 3 to me sort of work, but it's maybe if you've got a platform, let's just move along here. So if you've got a platform there, it may not work. But that's where the jump power, the jump power is good. Well, that's not what I was going to say. That's where the double jump will come in, because you come here, you could give them a small ledge to jump on. Boosh, they've done it. But then you've got a bigger ledge and you've got a double jump. But this is for you to figure out how you want it to be. So I'm going to click off play now. And this is very important as well. I'm turning off play mode, and the value's gone back to 1, and the value's gone back to 1. Whatever you do in play mode doesn't count. As soon as you unpause it or stop playing it, it'll revert back to what it was before you clicked play. So say put jump power there to 5, put the gravity to, well, 15. Let's just go with that. So I want to go back into my script because first of all I want to do so that you can only jump once. And what we're going to do is we're going to set up 3 public objects and a private bool. A bool is a true and false, but I'll explain that as we go along. So the first public object I want to put in there will be a public transform, and the transform is it's a component of an object that basically you can set the rotation, the position, and the scale. So I'll show you that when we actually come to it. So I'm going to call this floor check because this is what it's going to be. It's going to be an item that checks for the floor. Then I'm going to make another public float. Now I don't want to confuse you, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this up a little bit. So where I've got public float up here, I'm going to move that there and put a comma. The reason I'm doing that is because I haven't assigned any values. So because I'm making another public float here, it just saves me having in my script public float, public float, public float, public float. So my next public float is going to be the radius of our floor checker. So floor check rad seems like a relevant name to call it. I'm going to drop that down here, and I'm going to put in what's called a layer mask, and basically it's going to give the information of all the layers that I've got in my game. So we haven't changed any layers yet, so we will do it afterwards when it comes to explaining it a bit better. And I'm just going to call this is floor, because we're going to choose which layer is the floor. And the next one I'm going to write is a private, and it's going to be called private bool. And this we're going to call it on floor. Now a bool is a true or false object or piece of information or variable. Basically, just writing private bool on floor, and then every time I write on floor, that is true. Like if put if on floor, then on floor will be true. But because it's a private one, I can't change it outside of this code. So we're going to make sure on our start function, we just want to make sure that no, not start function. Oh, I've just done that for. Sorry, I'm just moving my code around a bit. So what I want to do, I'm not going to do it in the update section, but we're going to use what's called a fixed update, and that's more important for physics work, because start function is called, it says use this for initialization. So you click play, and then whatever information is in here happens when you click play. It doesn't happen again unless you got it in the update. So everything here will happen just once. In the update, it says here update is called once per frame. Now if you're running a system of 30 frames per second, it happens 30 times per second. If you're running a system of 60 frames per second, it happens 60 frames per second, etc. So we're going to use what's called void fixed update. And this is for physics engine. I don't know the exact measurement of it because I've not checked, but you can check this in the project setting, in your Unity inside your settings. You can basically set up basically like a timer on it, then you can define what it is. But I'll go into more detail about that afterwards if we need to. So on our fixed update, we're going to go for our on-floor bool, and this is going to be equal to a physics, a line of code that's physics, and does the same. It returns if it's true or false. So we're going to write here physics 2D, because that's sort of giving it a class. It says that public class. It's giving it the class of physics. Right, this here now public class player. This is our script. You're using Unity Engine and you're using system.collection. So you've called in a whole bunch of information, or let's say it was like a library of information already built in. Stuff like physics 2D is a class somewhere within Unity. You can probably find a script or a class that's called physics 2D. Now we're going to do dot, and dot is giving it the what have we done? We've done it player dot velocity. It's giving us all the objects or components or elements that belong to physics 2D here. And we're going to use overlap circle. And I'll show you this better as we make it, but basically we're now checking the physics overlap circle is it's going to be our floor check object we're going to make, and it's going to check the radius, and then it's going to check if it's on the floor. So it'll check against our list that we make. Well, the list that it makes for us. So I'll end up with a semicolon, but inside here now, this is where we give it some information. So first of all, we're going to get our floor check. But our floor check is a transform, and as I mentioned before, with a transform you can use the position, the rotation, and the scale. And it's going to confuse Unity if we try and access the entire of the transform object, because it's not going to know, do we want position, do we want rotation, or do we want scale? So make sure you write dot position there to tell it that you want the position element. The next one we're going to write in is our floor check rad, so the radius of our floor checker. Now, we've not set that up yet, so I'll be showing you that as we go along. And then is floor is our bool, so we're going to also use that. And this whole situation here, it gets the position of our floor check object, it checks the radius, overlapping circle, is it overlapping on our physics, and then if it is, it's going to you'll check our layer mask. Again, I'll explain the layer mask as we make it, because it becomes really obvious in a few minutes, or in a minute or so. And then all of that, if the answer to this is true, so if it's something overlapping on our list, then it returns the answer is true, so our on floor here is true. So what have we just done there really? We'll just give it some complicated physics stuff. Well, not complicated, but it may look complicated to you, like, well, what is this? What's the point? So, go down to your update function, and in your input get key down, next to the up arrow. So, go outside the first bracket, so the information keycode.up arrow is inside one bracket. And they do these weird and signs, what are they called? Not integers, that's numbers. Not asterisks. I don't know what they're called. The funky and signs, they're usually located above the 7 on a keyboard. So hold down shift and click 7. And what we want to write here now is, well, very, very simply, our on floor. So what this is now saying is, if our up arrow is clicked and the on floor is true, you could write is equal to true, but if you just write on floor, it's already looking for it to be true, and then it'll jump. So now it probably won't jump, but it'll have some more stuff to check. Let's check there's no more errors. There's a way to check within Modern Develop as well, but we just save it and drop back to Unity, and then it compiles, and if there's errors it tells us, and then we go back and check. So now we've got a few more objects here. We've got a floor check radius, we've got a floor check object, and we've got is floor nothing. So first of all now, I want to just grab a player, and I'm just going to create an empty object. So it's a parent of our player. It's a child of our player. I'm going to call this our floor check. So this is what we're going to use to check our floor. Now we want to just drop this down to be on our feet. So roughly there. So that's about 0.555 or minus 0.555. But that's not the position on the game. That's the position from here. So the Y position at minus 2.03, then also minus 0.0555 is the position of this sort of thing. So what have we just achieved? Well, first of all, I'm going to change the symbol of it. Alright, we could even just put it like that. It doesn't particularly matter exactly where we put it. You can just click on gizmos, you can see a bit better now that the floor check is there. Or, if you got it there, it's no good. So you just sort of drag this down to around here. Go to the player object and drag the floor check object into where it says non-transform. So now it knows it's looking for this floor check object, which is here. Floor check radius, well, I'm just going to go with 0.1. That's because I know it works. And for the is floor, we're looking for layers. If you go to layer, you've got default, transparent FX, ignore raycast, water, UI. These are 5 layers already pre-built into Unity, into projects. So if you add a layer, you've got a few blank ones here as well that aren't used, but you can't access them. Like I said, it says built-in layers there. So for our user layer, I want to just do, what do we want to pick? We'll put the player first, and then put our floor. So you can change around, say that's the player, that's the floor, put as many as you want in there. But now you'll see, you go back to your player, or go back to all your floor objects. Hopefully it'll just work for this. So if you go to your floor, and go to layer there, add that to your floor, you'll get this. Do you want to set layer to floor for all child objects as well? Definitely yes. Okay, so click on yes. To be fair, if you set it up a bit differently, you could just set like the top ones to be the floor layer if you wanted. Completely up to you, because that's the only ones you're going to collide with. So you go back to your player. So what is floor? Everything on our floor layer is our floor. So now, we've got our movement speed, we've got our jump power, we've got a floor check radius, so it's going to use that value there of 0.1. May change it later, may make it smaller, bigger, however we choose. The floor check object is now this one. So using that that physics 2D overlap circle, that's why we're using a radius, by the way, because circles, radius, diameters, circumference, stuff like that. And is floor is your layers, so everything on the floor layer is the floor. So what I want to do, for starters, you've got a private bool there. Now, as you notice, all these public objects you can see, but the private ones you can't. So if you want to see things that you set as private just for testing or debugging, go over to the inspector window and hold down this, or click on this burger menu with an arrow and click on debug mode. And that brings up the floor, the player, rigid body. It's got none, we've not assigned it here, but we've assigned it inside the script. So what we want to do from now is we want to click on play. Check this out on floor. Assuming got it right. Touches the floor, it becomes true. As you see as well, the player rigid body, it becomes activated because of the script we've used. So going over here, my bad. Put the gravity scale to 15 instead of the jump power. Okay, right. So now you can see you're jumping up. Every time you jump up, the on floor goes off, and I can only jump once. So this is great, and if you only want to jump once in your game, that's fine. If you don't want to jump at all, then you're watching the wrong video. But yeah, what I want to do is I want to add in a double jump feature as well. So what I'll do is I'll take this off and we'll put this back to our normal view, and I'll also put the gravity scale back to 5 and the jump power to 15. I messed that up, I've got them wrong way around. So we're going to save this now. So now what I want to do is I want to activate some double jump. So what I want to do now is create another private bool, and same as before, because I'm not putting a value, I'm just going to try it out this way. I'm just going to call it jumped. There we go. It turns blue. This is the style I'm using. Like the background, it'll be a bit different to you. It turns blue if it's allowed it, so it has. So with our private bool, what's it called? Our private bool jump now jumped. What we want to do is obviously want to give it a yes and a no. So to make things really easy, in our update section, I'm just going to do if, then if you're on the floor, I'm just close that, because like I said, once you just write it like that, this means if it's true. I'm going to tell it that jumped equals false. The reason for that is because if you're on the floor, then you have not jumped. You are not jumping, so there we go. So what I want to do now, just like this jump function here, I'm not going to copy it, I'll write it out again. I'm going to go with if input dot get key down key code dot up arrow. That's the key code we want. And now what we want to check now, if you're clicking the up arrow and you have not jumped, so to do that, to invert something, you put an exclamation mark to make sure it's not. So another way, if you wanted to do this, like if you were checking if you were not on the floor, you'd put that, and that would mean if it is not true. Okay, now we want it to be on the floor. So what I'm going to write now, if you have not jumped, so if jumped equals false, but also I'm going to add another and make sure you are not on the floor as well. And then what I want to do, I'm going to open a pair of curlies like that, and well, for starters, I want to jump. So I'll do my function here. Now this is why we've made this void function here, is rather than writing on both of these instances, we would have written player.velocity equals new vector 2 player.velocity.x jump power, and the exact same line would have gone there. So you make little functions when you're going to repeat code all the time. So what you could have done as well is, rather than writing out player.velocity, you could have made another object, another private object, and made it equal to something equals player.velocity. So then whatever this something would have been, so let's say you could have called it player v equals player.velocity, and you just write player v sort of thing. But I didn't bother doing that. Now then, why is this not happy? Oh, I've done the wrong bracket there. So make sure I open that one. Just checking now, make sure that's right. Happy with that, happy with that. Okay. So we've got the jumped equals false, and if the jump is false, then you can jump. And if you're on the floor, you can jump. Sorry, if you're not on the floor, you can jump. So the way this works, if I click on that, and then if I save it now and I jump, I can just keep jumping and jumping, and that's not what we want. So what you want to do is get the jumped and make it equal true. Save that. So now, when you're on the floor, you will jump, and then if you click it again, and you have not jumped, so if you're on the floor, jumping is false. So then you're on the floor and you jump once, then you have not jumped and you are not on the floor, you can jump again, and straight away after, jumped equals true, so then you can't get back into this until you're on the floor again, because when you're on the floor, jumped equals false, then you can jump and jump again. Like I said, we save that. Now assuming all goes well, this should work. Click on play. Now, like I said, we're going to mess around with jump power and gravity again. Again and again. I may put gravity down to 3 for this. So we're going to click on this. I'm going to change the scale as well, put it back to how it was. So I'm going to click on up and up again. Up and up again. But I'm now pressing it rapidly. Hold it down, you can only jump once. Press it again. So if you're making one of them silly jumps, and you want to jump, and that is how you do double jump. So like I said, have a mess around with the jump power and the gravity scale, stuff like that. The same with the movement speed, you may want to move a bit quicker. Perhaps you want to move really quick and jump terribly, jump really high and move really slow. I don't know, it's a super jumping snail. I don't know what you want to do. But yeah, so that's it for this video. This is the video all about setting up the jump, the double jump, and checking that you're on the floor. So if you like this video, like how the series is going, drop me a like, drop me some comments, because I like comments. Even if you want to drop me a comment suggesting a different series, let me have it. Subscribe so you can see the new videos, the new series that you guys suggest or that I come up with. And I will see you in the next video.